Right about now, you are listening to the Legacy and Leadership Podcast.
Lyric are us.
Happier.
Still to be happy about.
You're up too old.
Job's not finished.
Legacy is what you leave behind. Leadership is how you are defined. Tomorrow, I don't know the sun gon' shine. So today, I'm trying to replenish my mind. Legacy, leader, yeah. Legacy, leaders, yeah. Legacy, leaders, yeah. Legacy,
Legacy leaders, what is up? This is Coach Jimmy G, along with my very good friend Devon Watts.
What's going on, leaders?
And this is Cold Brews and Convos with your L3G coaches. Hope everybody's feeling good this Wednesday evening. I know I'm hyped. We had a good conversation before we went live and excited about today. If you haven't heard already, we have dropped our most recent episode of the Legacy and Leadership Podcast, which is number 7 seasons. That is the title. 7 seasons. If you're wondering, what are you guys talking about 7 seasons, you're gonna have to check it out. The podcast dropped this morning, yes, and the vidcast will be dropping probably about another 2 hours or so this evening, but it will be available. But definitely go to Podbean or whatever major platform that you're on, whether that is iTunes, Spotify. We are now on iHeartRadio. You could always talk to Alexa and ask her to play Legacy and Leadership Podcast 7 seasons. She'll do that for you too.
Be there.
That you want to be. So make sure that you're checking out the podcast and check out the artwork, and it'll give you a little insight. But again, you're going to have to listen. We were very excited about the episode. Just felt like it was just a really good conversation and really breaking down 10 different things that are going to help you to be an exceptional leader, right? And one that is exceptionally resilient in what you do and who you are. So again, great content. We got a little fired up in a very good way. Spirit was moving. So I definitely feel that you guys are going to enjoy that if you haven't listened to it already. So, and if you have, leave us some comments. We definitely love to hear from you and kind of get your input and your take on it.
Yeah,
how you doing, Mark?
I'm doing well, man. Like you said, just hype from our conversation. Definitely hype from our last episode. I was listening last night. For those who follow me on Facebook, you saw me mention just my affinity for a beautiful WAV file. We have to do audio engineering. So I'm really happy just technically how this came out, but also the content, man. Like you said, it's just super passionate. Us being able to kind of break down these concepts and really share our experiences and our journeys in spaces outside of the corporate office or corporate spaces. I know that for some of our legacy leaders, you may definitely be familiar with our journey in those areas, but for both of us, we've definitely taken on additional passions and hobbies outside of the corporate space as entrepreneurs and as creators, and from Trinity Fitness to winning formula marketing, right, to my music aspirations and pursuing being a writer and a producer and all of those things. And I think we were really, really able to tap into that and just talk about how we relied on resiliency in order to see us through a lot of those situations. And so it is well worth the listen. Please make sure that you guys check it out if you haven't done so. If you prefer to see these beautiful faces, and then just wait for it to drop on YouTube, the vidcast. And you can connect with us and get this whole heap of golden nuggets that we'll be dropping along the way throughout the episode. So yeah, man, I'm feeling good, man. And this is not really cold brew. I'm gonna admit this is actually I had leftover Bustelo, so it's really espresso. I don't know. Espresso on ice, but it's like a lot of espresso. So if I start bouncing around or get the jitters while we're going live, you guys will know why. I got rocket fuel in my cup with some ice and a little bit of creamer. So
hey, it's still coffee, so I will take that for sure. So the topic at hand for today is becoming an avid reader. And it was Harry Truman who once said, like, not all readers are leaders, but all leaders are readers. And we have touted it and have quoted that quote and presented that quote many times within our conversations and the podcast as well. I told my wife that this was going to be the topic that we were going to be covering today. And she's like, yeah, you two are definitely avid readers. I have a whole stack of books right next to me that I'll show at some point.
Yeah, I was gonna say, bro, I grabbed a few of my favorites too. I was like, just in case topics come up, like I want them at arm's length.
So we wanted to make sure that we give, again, 9 tips that will help you to become an avid reader. And then, of course, as promised, we're always going to leave you with 3 action steps that you can take to start working on that today. So we are, if I can get my, boom, there it is. So reading really is not only just a wonderful way to relax, but it's also a great way, obviously, to learn, right? In fact, one of the best steps that you can take for self-improvement is to read more. We love for people to listen to podcasts, especially ours, but there's something about reading, and we're going to get into different things that you can do when it comes to reading. But again, there's nothing like, having an actual book and just turning the pages and kind of smelling it and, it just really, again, helps it to kind of come alive even more, at least for me anyway. Mm-hmm. But reading opens you up to a whole world of different skills, viewpoints, and ideas that hopefully will challenge you. So becoming an avid reader isn't going to be easy, but definitely it is well worth it. If you want to read more, but you've been struggling to do so, again, try the steps that we're going to outline for you. One thing that I've been blessed, man, is, and actually they have inspired me on my kids. My 2 oldest ones, so my young adults right now, but they have been avid readers probably since both of them were around 8 to 10 years old, and just devour books and consume books. My middle child, Elena, she has basically 3 bookshelves in her room with literally hundreds of books. My youngest, who hates to read, she's very vocal about that, has counted all the books, and she probably has close to 300 books right now in her library, in her room. And then we have another stack of, probably 100 or so books kind of outside in our loft area. Again, my son, Christian, very much the same way. They just devour books. They've been that way, again, pretty much since they were around 8 or 10 years old. So they have inspired me to really, again, feast. Now, I typically read kind of self-help books, whether that's mental stuff, spiritual type of books that are going to help me to kind of improve in those different areas of my life. They tend to read more stories and kind of novels and such. But it's all good. Whatever you read, whatever, again, suits you and you're going to be able to learn and kind of develop from, it's all good. But just even the mental aspect of going through that, of reading, is super helpful anyway. So we're going to jump right into this. Number 1, I would say is, man, start with a topic that you love. If you find it kind of challenging right now to start, again, really getting into making reading a habit, if you're trying to build that habit, start with something that you love, right? That's going to be a great choice for you. Starting a new habit is hard enough. So why also battle against, your own personal preferences? Choose a topic that you're really interested in and just start reading. So again, this stack that I have in front of me, not all of them, there's some that have to do with just kind of being a man and learning and growing in that space. But probably 7 of the other ones are about leadership, right? We talk about leadership a lot, and I want to continue to be a student of that topic and continue to develop in that way. So that's one of the topics. Besides habits and discipline are some of the things that I've been focusing on more recently. What about you?
Now, I'm actually the same way with a mix of history, because I'm definitely an avid history buff. And so I'm actually, one of my favorite books that I got here is a little combination of both. So it's always great when you're able to have intersection of your 2 favorite topics or 2 of your favorite topics. So this one specifically, 7 Men, is about leadership, right? So men throughout history that have exemplified leadership, and each, kind of person's story is, there's something to glean from a leadership perspective, but it's also talking about history. And anybody that knows me, I'm a huge history buff. I'm also a huge wealth of just random knowledge. Like I just, a lot of useless facts because, again, I read and I consume. I was fortunate because my pops has always just kind of set that example for us. Even when we were kids, we never looked at reading as a punishment. It was never like, all right, you're acting up, so go to your room and read. Like reading was never a punishable thing. It was always for enjoyment and, camaraderie and being able to connect. And I've kind of carried that on even with my kids. I don't tell Gio to go to his room when he's acting up and read. Like we read together. That's how we spend our time together. Right.
Yeah,
but
sure.
Again, it's about starting with what you love. I love that call out. Like if you don't have an affinity for a book about leadership or self-help and you prefer, Harry Potter or like Geo, maybe some type of zombie fish book, like that's what's going to get you excited, then lean into it. As long as you're reading and you're learning in the process and simulating yourself, like that's really what it's about at the end of the day.
Yeah, for sure. So if you're with us live, two things: go ahead and leave us #TeamLive to let us know that you're with us, and also leave us a comment. Let us know kind of what topic you love to read. We definitely love to hear from you guys out there.
Absolutely. All right. So the second tip to becoming an avid reader is set goals to challenge yourself. So are you the type of person that typically rises to a challenge? And if so, then consider setting up your own reading challenges, right? It can be, I want to read one book a month. I want to read, 2 books a quarter, right? Just setting those milestones to challenge yourself and create some accountability for this process of reading and learning. You can focus on short term, trying to hit a certain number of pages each day. That's another good way to do it. Like I've actually taken to that with Geo because even though we're reading something that he's passionate about, that he's interested in, right? I also want to make sure that we're able to, kind of keep his attention as we're reading. And so we commit to, when we sit down and we read, it's 3 chapters a day, right? And no more than that. Even if it ends on a cliffhanger, we'll have to find out what happens tomorrow, right? But again, having those short-term goals and saying, hey, we're going to hit a certain number of pages or get through a certain number of chapters is a great way to start. Or you can, again, go long-term and, have some book milestones of how many books you want to get through. So I think we actually started off this year, right before we launched season 2 of the Legacy and Leadership podcast, asking our readers about our leaders, because leaders are learners, so it's interchangeable, right? But our legacy leader community about their reading goals and like how many did they get through last year and then how many are they getting through this year. So let's consider this an accountability checkpoint. If you're watching this, whether it's live or on the replay, how many you got through already? How many are you reading? How many you got? Yeah. Why don't you drop in the comments and let us know how many books you've been able to get through. For myself, so far this year, even though we're only in the second month, I've been able to get through 2 books. Again, one with Gio and then one personally. So I'm doing pretty solid in terms of my goal. I want to try and get through a book a month, and I'm outpacing that right now. So we'll see if we keep that going.
Yeah, my goal for this year was 12 books. So, one a month. I was telling Stacy that I'm a little behind, but I'm almost finished. I've been reading. This one is called The Standard, Discovering Jesus as a Standard for Masculinity. I had another one I was reading that I stopped because I'm actually reading this with a friend of mine. But I should be good to catch up pretty quickly. So again, I'm putting myself out there. That is my goal. At least 12 for the week, for the year, one a month. And I'm still confident that I'll be able to do that. So well on our way. Number 3 is don't forget about audiobooks. It might be a little controversial, right? Depending on kind of what circles you're in, but don't dismiss audiobooks. Yes, it might not technically be reading, but it's still a positive way to ingest information. You can listen to an audiobook, when you otherwise can't read, if you're driving or if you're walking or running, while you're exercising. Plus, it really can open you up to new insights that you can actually read about later. My audiobooks, definitely, I would say, listening to audiobooks has lessened since I'm not driving to work as much, really at all now, as I used to. And of course, I do, try, besides hours, I try to listen to other podcasts as well. Just a fan of podcasts that I'll do while I'm driving. But yeah, audiobooks is a great way. Again, even if you're not reading maybe a hard copy book or even as a paperback, ebooks. I actually printed this one out. But ebooks is another great way, for you to get them online. This is 7 Secrets to Cultivate Grit. We have been focusing on grit and resilience all through the last, I would say, 3 or 4 episodes within the podcast. And behind the scenes, we've been working on a couple of ebooks that we're going to have for you that, again, really revolve around that. So if you're interested in 7 Secrets to Cultivate Grit, let us know in the comments, and I'll make sure that I shoot you the information so that you're able to get your hands on that. And especially for our YouTube watchers as well, and our folks out there, we'll make sure that we leave the link in the show notes. That way you're able to get that all for free, again, just so you can start really learning and getting some tips that are going to help you to cultivate grit. So don't forget about audiobooks, ebooks as well, all different ways, again, that you can consume and ingest this type of information.
No, absolutely. Actually, I think the next one, the next sip is around ebooks and ebook subscriptions, right? So again, to Jimmy's point, definitely controversial if you are more of the traditionalist when it comes to reading, right? But I think the thing we also have to realize is that the way that we all consume information has evolved, right? Has evolved. And especially when you're talking about appealing to different learning styles, there are those that have a greater affinity for auditory learning, right? Or reading on the being able to read from an electronic device as opposed to the hardcover, especially if you're trying to save a couple shekels, right? Because the ebooks definitely you don't have all the costs associated with publishing and all that other good stuff, right? People trying to get margins on top of margins, but again, ebooks and ebook subscriptions are an option. So again, we're not saying that maybe you should give up on physical books, because I do think that there's a lot of value in just having the physical book, being able to pass it along, being able to mark it up, just kind of all of those things. There's just highlighting, right? Like there's just a vibe that just comes with, physically cracking open a book, sitting down, getting cozy, and then going through the process, right, of just consuming it. But an ebook subscription is just another way to find interesting things to read. This one, I'll take it even a step further, because one of the things that I actually like to do, and it may seem a little wonky or geeky, but for specific topics, I actually like to read white papers. Like I go out on the internet, I try to find a white paper about it, and I'll consume a white paper from start to finish. And, on a subject that I'm really, really interested in. Again, it's not really an ebook. It's not really, a traditional book in the sense, but it's, still expanding my horizons and learning and educating myself. And so, again, the biggest takeaway through all of this is just to consume, like to learn. Again, like we talked about, Henry Ford said it, right? Leaders are readers, right? And we've evolved that. You've heard us mention this before, that leaders are learners, right? Leaders are learners. And there's a multitude of ways to learn. Again, physical books, ebooks, audiobooks, it doesn't matter. As long as you're consuming a book and you're learning and expanding, that's what really counts at the end of the day.
Yeah, I'll put it in the comments. Actually, my boss put me on to basically a subscription, website, but it's not necessarily the full books, but it gives you, summaries of the books, which is another good resource, right? And we'll kind of get into another tip that has something to do with that, not necessarily reading the whole book, but especially if you're trying to research a topic, let's say on leadership, or, I'm putting together a class for goal setting, or, having tough conversations, being able to read summaries of 3 or 4 books, which obviously would be a lot faster, helps me to collect information from different sources. Then I can use that to create content and create this learning experience that I have for, for the employees and for the teams. So yeah, just a good way to, again, be able to consume that type of information. Keep a reading log is something that I've been looking to really start and adding to kind of a discipline for myself, as well as is tracking the books, right? So you read is a great way to stay motivated to keep reading. I kind of have my stack, so that's kind of my way of tracking my books. I know when I'm done, and I'll kind of move it to another pile. So I have the books that I have left and the ones that I've read already. But as your list builds, right, your confidence will as well. You will want to keep adding to your list. Your reading log is also useful to help you keep track of what you have read or what you want to read in the future. I also have a link. It's basically a PDF, but somebody passed it on to me from, oh my gosh, I'm trying to remember the gentleman's name right now, but basically it's Dave Ramsey, and it's kind of his 100 list of books like that you should definitely read. So as I was going through that list, there's a lot of them, well, probably about maybe 10 or so out of the 100 that I know I've read or that are on my list. But that's, definitely a good resource that I've kept to say, okay, I want to continue to just knock that out as time progresses. So keeping that log of what you have read, and again, books that you want to read, is a good way to hold yourself accountable and keep you motivated as well.
Absolutely. All right. So next is schedule reading time. A lot of people claim that they have a lack of time.
Mm-hmm.
And that being the biggest hurdle when it comes to reading. And honestly, we've talked about this a little bit more in depth, that being a hurdle when it comes to achieving any of our goals, right? And so the best way to fix that is to make time, is to schedule it, right? So look at your schedule and figure out when you can pencil some reading time in. Start to create a routine. When you create a routine, you create habits, then you create the space, you make it a priority so that you don't deviate, right? You don't deviate, and you'll be surprised how easy it is to find some reading time each day. For me, part of my routine on days that we do not record, right, or have podcast related activity, usually Tuesdays and Thursdays are the ones that run us the longest. Wednesdays is a nice little quick chat, with our legacy leader community, but it doesn't take up the entire night. So my reading time ends up coinciding with my workout days, Monday, Wednesday, Fridays, and Monday, Wednesday, Fridays when I read the Geo. So I will finish what I'm doing. I read the Champ. After I read the Champ, I put him to bed. I get dressed. I go hit the gym. That's kind of my routine, right? So that's the way I found to create time to ensure that I'm able to get my reading in, right? And on days, because we do have the occasional day where he's super tired and he just doesn't feel up to it,
Yeah.
I repurpose that time for me, and I'll read what I want to consume or read. And if we end up reading later that night after my workout, because Jimmy knows this better than most, but I just keep odd hours anyway. That's my time for me to read the personal stuff that I like, whether it's consuming a white paper, going through articles, or reading a book that I'm currently going through. So again, schedule reading time. You've heard us mention this before. I'll mention again, if you can master your minutes, you can master millions. And the only way you can master millions is to grow your mind. And the only way to grow your mind is to learn. So again, schedule reading time.
Schedule it, put it in your checklist, your to-do list, which I've been doing. So every day I have it there that I need to read 15 minutes. But that's the next step. I haven't blocked a specific time for that. And I realize I need to do that just to keep it even more consistent. Number 7 is get comfortable. When you're ready to get into some serious reading time, make sure that you're comfortable. So like, I know, in my office, I definitely spend time in here reading, but we do have a reading chair downstairs with a nice lamp behind it. I could put my feet up. So when I know, again, that I really want to get in some good reading, I'll try to go downstairs, especially in the morning before the dog really wakes up. So I have that complete quiet time. It's just a really, really comfortable spot, for me to be able to do that. So find a comfy position on a comfy seat and then just settle in. Right. You should have also some adequate lighting, and it wouldn't hurt to have a snack or drink, that's within reach when that, I'm about to get in, I'm about to crack open this really good book. And that you're going to, again, invest some time into reading that particular book itself. Number 8.
All right. Number 8. So don't get caught up in finishing. Now, I know this is a little counterintuitive, but stick with us here, right? A lot of people have an overwhelming urge to finish anything that they start. And while this is an admirable trait, it isn't always conducive to building a reading habit. If you are bored out of your mind or simply disinterested by the time you get through 50 pages or more, consider starting something new. It's as simple as that, right? I've often, at times I found myself doing that where maybe I get into the meat of it and maybe I'm not gleaning the things that I want to glean, or it's just not resonating with me right now. Or, maybe I've gotten into some heavy self-help, some self-improvement type stuff. And it's like, all right, I'm not in a space right now where I can extract maximum value from what I'm reading right now. Let me, put a break in it. Let me pivot to something else. Let me read something else that maybe is going to capture my interest. And again, there is something to be said about just kind of the mood that you're in from a reading perspective. Again, if you're interested in some self-help type stuff, and maybe today you're feeling like more fantasy and you want to get away, like there's nothing wrong with that. That's often why I find myself at times trying to devour multiple books at once. Right. It's usually because of that. Like I've started one and then I've put a pause on it, and then I've started something else, and then I found myself pivoting back. And then now I'm reading both of these books based off of what I'm interested in. But the thing is, I'm pursuing what I'm interested in, and that's motivating me. And so eventually I finish, but I'm not obsessed with finishing because I just happen to start this one.
Yeah. And depending on the type of book, like obviously if you're reading a story, a novel, you want to read the whole thing through, right? But if it's more of a self-help book, kind of go through the chapters, right? And take a look at the table of contents at the beginning and look at how, the name of the chapters. And there might be some chapters that, after kind of reading it really quick and seeing the title, you're like, that doesn't sound too interesting. So stick to the stuff, again, that are going to be of most interest to you and that, you're going to get the most value and benefit from.
Yeah. Or to your point, is it may not even be, that's not interesting. And maybe that's not what I need right now. You know what I mean? Like I need something specifically about time management. This is, talking more about, leadership and emotional intelligence. Like, I don't need to read that right now. Let me go to the section on time management. Let me consume that.
Number 9, join a book club. Right. So joining a book club is a great way for people wanting to read more. Obviously, it's a great way, especially this time that we're in right now, just to continue to socialize. There's an added accountability knowing that you must discuss the book with others on a regular basis. Plus, you might enjoy, again, that social aspect, meeting new people and just interacting with folks in a different way. Done that many times before, kind of creating a little reading group and stuff like that. You never know. Maybe we'll pick a book and we'll see if our legacy leaders out there would be interested in doing something like that. If you are, again, leave something in the comments and let us know. So many books that we could, again, devour and go through, and it'd be great to kind of get everybody's different perspective on it. So join a book club. It gives you that extra accountability. It gives you that additional social interaction. And I'm sure you won't be disappointed in that either.
No, not at all, man.
So there you have it, folks. 9 tips, again, to help you really become a more avid reader. And as always, as promised, we have 3 action steps for you. So number 1 is, what book topics or genres excite you the most? Right, that was one of the first things that we talked about. Again, if you are inclined, go ahead and leave in the comments and let us know what topics most intrigue you and that you really love reading the most. Brainstorm a list of topics that you'd like to read more about. So that is step number 1. Step number 2, choose a single topic or genre from the list that you've just created. Google search for books about that particular topic. You can also search for best of list or the Amazon bestsellers list and make a list of the books that interest you. So number 1, write a list of different topics, different genres. Number 2, pick out a specific topic or genre and then start searching for multiple books on that topic or within that genre. And then number 3, choose one book, right, that interests you and read the first 50 pages. If you like the book, continue. If it hasn't caught your attention by that particular point, stop reading and then choose another book. It is all good. You still spent time reading. You were still feeding yourself and learning through that process, even if it was just the first 50 pages. So there you have it, our legacy leaders. Again, 9 tips and 3 action steps that will help you to become a more avid reader. Leaders are readers, and it's important, again, to help just your overall learning and challenge, your brain and kind of take you through some mental activities as well. So we hope that this was of value and of benefit to you. Again, if it is, definitely let us know in the comments. Leave us number one, again, what type of books or topics, I should say, you really are interested in reading. And if you were interested in maybe doing some type of book club in the Legacy Leader community within our Facebook group, let us know that as well. We definitely love to get your feedback. If you haven't checked out yet, again, make sure that you take a listen to the latest episode, which is episode 30. Like, we're making some moves, man. Episode 30, very excited about just the progress, that we've been making, and the fact that we've gotten to this point. Never necessarily thought that we would kind of have that many episodes out there. Plus, we have a host of additional videos. I think we have over 60 videos right now within the YouTube channel. So a lot of content out there for you guys to consume. Definitely be on the lookout for the next episode that we have coming next week. It'll be our second installment of the MBA series, Mentored by Adversity. But because how we decided to do the first one, this is going to be the first installment where we actually have a live guest coming on, and we're doing our interviews. Actually going to be a 2-part series. We have Shannon Martin, who is Director of Communications for Podbean, which is the main platform that we use to get our podcast out to the world and all of you lovely folks out there. So definitely excited about that. She's going to be talking about things that she's gone through, how she's been mentored by adversity, and how her leadership style, again, was developed through things that she's gone through and exploring the world and just being the avid traveler that she is. And then we'll also start breaking down how you can use podcasting, especially if you're in a corporate environment or even if you're a small business owner, right? But just how you can use podcasting to help your people learn and help your team learn in different ways, and kind of add that as an additional strategy to your learning and development path and strategy that you're using for your folks. So again, definitely be on the lookout for that. I'm sure you're going to get a lot of golden nuggets from that one as well.
Yeah, man. I actually really enjoyed the conversation with her, especially because, she just talks so passionately about her affinity for small businesses, working with small businesses, and really what the value that Podbean offers, right? The value that Podbean offers creators. And when we say creators, I want to make sure that our audience understands, we use that to acknowledge the entrepreneurs, the hustlers, the people who are building something from nothing, right? Building something from nothing, building your business, whether it's an e-business, whether, you're thinking about going into brick and mortar, maybe you're mobile, it doesn't matter, right? You are creating, whether you're content creation or, again, creating jobs. And so she just kind of talks passionately about how Podbean is offering and able to help and provide services for these creators and these small business owners on ways to continue to enrich, educate, train, learn, and communicate, with their staff and with others. So I'm really excited about the 2-parter. One, her story is compelling, but then also 2, to hear some of the things that are going on in Podbean is just really, really dope. So I'm excited to share that with our listeners.
So that's next week. But until then, again, peep out episode number 30, 7 seasons. We also have some new micro learning content that dropped earlier this week as well, having to do with mindfulness. Definitely, again, make sure you take a look. Be on the lookout for the videos that we have dropping and the additional content that we have for our legacy leaders out there. So appreciate y'all very much. Hopefully you enjoy the rest of your evening and the rest of your day. We don't know where you're at. We got followers and community members all over the world. So definitely grateful for you and for, again, just riding this journey with us as we look to develop and get better and improve and live as a leader worth following, help and lead others to do the same. And in doing so, leave a legacy for generations. So as always, you guys stay encouraged. God bless. Take care.
Rage on that beat, going crazy.
You have just listened to the Legacy and Leadership Podcast, hosted by Jimmy Gonzalez and Devon Watts. Thank you, and we hope that you live, lead, and leave a legacy worth remembering. Until next time.